I'm gonna make a Iron Mind Pad 101 video for you guys on how to like prep them for when you first get them, for when they're new, and like creasing them and chalking them, wrapping them, and then also how to chalk your hands too for a bin. And I'm gonna show you why I chalk my hands like that. So let's start here. Come on. So when I get some new Iron Mind pads, the first thing I do is, you know, they're kind of all like wadded up in the package from Iron Mind, which is cool. But I want to get mine creased and folded in a certain way. All right. And the crease is going to help with a couple things, and the fold, maybe it's just my way of doing things, but I feel like when I get these ready to bin, when I'm creasing them, I want the tag kind of out of my way and at the very end of the wrap. So basically, I'm pretty much crease on my pads the same way. I'll put the tag up at the top right, like if the tag's facing up, flip it over here. I'm going to bring this side in and then that side. The reason I do that is because when I wrap this from this end, the tag is going to be up here and out of my way. Also, as I'm wrapping, this side here is folded, and this is the open side. As I'm wrapping, it makes it a little easier to keep it from bunching up, because all I have to do is push the air out of the pad, out of this open flap, and that helps with keeping a good tight wrap and no air pockets. For creasing them, before I crease them, I'll chalk the shit out of them, both sides, you know, basically lay them flat and then run the chalk. Basically like so on the whole wrap, okay, both sides. And I'll fold them how I want them, and I'll throw them between the flat sides of two 45-pound plates. I just grabbed some 25s now because I didn't feel like carrying 45s in here, but it's pretty much what it'll look like to kind of help press them flat in the position you want. It's good to have them good and square with no overhanging edges. Like, you don't want them all wrapped up like all like that and shit, you know, or whatever. You know what I'm saying? The flatter and the more square, the better. You basically want to simulate like a solid piece of leather in one flat sheet, and then creasing that with a good square fold, and then between the pads is really going to help in doing that. So, before I wrap this up, I always like to chalk my hands first, alright? And I start with the fingers, and I go all the way around, up in the webbing of the fingers, on both hands. And this is real important for when you're crushing, and also when you're kinking, so that when you kink, your fingers aren't sliding around and creating like a situation where you're going to roll skin off. And this is going to help prevent tears in a way. It's going to hurt a little bit more, but it's going to be a trade-off because you're not going to like rip skin, so you'll be able to bend more. So around each finger and the whole palm. If you guys have like a bucket of dust chalk, it probably just helps to stick your hands down in it and just like wash them in the chalk basically. It would be good too, but I like doing it this way. I'm chalking all the way up the back sides of my hand to the wrist. I'll show you why I feel that's necessary when I go to crush it. This is a trick I learned from Eric Millfield about chalking between the fingers and the back sides of the hand. And of course I'll show you when I go to crush this down. I'll give you a little pointer. So I'll do this before I even start wrapping. Kind of all chalked up there. Alright, so move some chalk out of the way. So I've got my pads creased, chalked, and they're ready to bend. By the way, you want to leave them sitting between some 45s for like maybe a day or two with some extra weight stacked on top, and just let them sit there and like set basically. Alright, come a little closer. So the next important thing to wrapping up an Iron Mind pads is clamping it down so you can pull tight as you're wrapping. And the best way to do that was like a pony clamp or two pony clamps, or like some kind of vice grip that'll grab the wrap. And I also feel it's real important to stay towards this edge of the wrap. Alright, you don't want to like get way over here and clamp on this side because you're going to be wrapping the bar from this side. So I got my clamps directly in front of the bar, and I've basically got a torn spot here as like a marker reference where I put my bars, and that'll happen over time as you bend more. It helps too to have these little rubber lips on it to really help bite into the wrap and hold it so you can pull it real tight so they don't pop out of the clamps. Alright, and just whatever you want to use to simulate that will be fine as long as it holds it good and tight. So when I'm wrapping, can you see, come a little closer. So when I'm wrapping, some guys like to do the fold here and then start wrapping it, which is cool. That's a great way of wrapping. I just do mine from the ends up. All right. It's real important to get it started and bring it up with your thumbs and pull tight. Okay. And you do that first wrap. It's real important to get tucked up and pull that tight. Now, as you're doing that, this side over here is going to be doing like this. Just kind of tuck it up. It doesn't matter if that's uber tight. What I want to do is keep this line straight all the way up here. Okay, with the end of the wrap. And I'm pulling the wrap here and pushing down with my fingers. Now as I'm wrapping, you see how it's starting to lift up and let air in? I'm just going to push it out with my fingers as I go. It's okay to have little folds in the wrap so long as it's not holding air. You'll know you're doing this right when you get like a mad finger pump once you get to the top. Now here's an important, I feel like it's important for that line to be good and flush and straight. Lets me know I got a square wrap all the way across, okay? And here's the important part you're going to want to hold for your putting your band on. And it's important to start down here, right, to where you're concentrating on keeping tight. Put the band on, then you can just quickly throw it on the rest of the wrap. But here's where I want it tight. I'm going to do the same thing here. Also, usually when I bend, you'll see me chalk the wrap here. That'll kind of help keep the bar from spinning on the crush and on the sweep so you won't punch yourself in the face. And I'm going to do the same thing over again. Once you get this down, it'll be pretty quick. You'll get the feel for it, and you'll be like, damn, I didn't know a tight wrap could help that much on a bend. You'll notice right away in practicing with this and having a good crease in your pads and folding them this way. Okay, so I've got my good flat edge there. All right, both sides. I'm going to hold here, put my band on, just like the other side. Okay, so I'll go ahead and bend this to show you why I chalk my hands the way I chalked them. Once again, before I bend, I'm going to re-chalk, just kind of lightly. Remembering that I put chalk between my fingers so they don't move around during the bend between the knuckles and peel a lot of skin off here, because this is a spot where you're going to lose a lot of skin doing iron line pat bends. And this is just a 7-inch bastard. I'm just going to go ahead and leave the bands on because I'm going to be taking my hands off and stuff to show you how to grip. First, you know how to do the kink. I'm going to get it through the sweep. Also, here's another pointer. I've kind of learned to feel that when it's kind of bending off center, and what I'll do is I've noticed I'm a little more right hand dominant, a little more right side dominant. So the leg will be a little longer over here for some reason, because I kind of plant with my left hand almost, and I'll just flip it and switch to kind of keep the bar bending evenly. All right. Okay, right about here is where some of you guys might get stuck. Keep in mind, it's good to keep the steel moving too, keep it moving quickly, keep the heat on it, keep the momentum going, it'll help you kind of blast through the bend a little easier. But if you'll notice, the hands start to get a little bit closer and you start to run out of a little bit of room. I pretty much just put my whole index finger above the wrap at that point, leaving them where they're at originally, kind of like palms down. Find a good spot where it feels comfortable. And you see how the elbows kind of rotated out? That'll help you sweep it a bit. Now, here's where the chalk between the fingers comes in handy. What I like to do is my sweep is going to be the weakest part of my bend. Like my kink and crush are kind of equal, but the sweep is kind of like lags. And I'm going to show you how to get around that, being a little weaker on the sweep, because I have always been, but I can still finish the bend by doing this. Basically, I'm chalk between the fingers and on the back sides of my hand. Pretty much if I'm on a hard bend and I'm getting stopped on the sweep right before the crush, I'm going to try to interlock my fingers as soon as possible. I don't want to wait till the bar is close enough together where I can lock all the way up here. I don't really need to do that. I can lock here, find a good spot in the palms, and start to crush it. Now I moved a little bit, so now I can move my fingers closer together. Now the chalk between the fingers and on the back sides of the hands is going to help in not letting my fingers slip apart. So what I'm going to be able to do with that is get a little extra grip in the fingers, so I can also pull with my fingers and my hands as I crush. So it's like I'm not really just straight crushing it, I'm kind of also pulling here too as I crush to help, you know, the hand strength will help. So, and that really will help your crush out a ton. So now I'm fully seated. The webs are pretty much fully seated. I'm not going to really be able to go much further with the crush with my hands aiding them. It's just going to basically be all chest and shoulders at this point. Now the bar is done, but if you just wanted to crush the shit out of one, you could just push with the chest. Notice I didn't have to move the wraps up or down at all. I just kind of left them where they were at, and using the chalk between the fingers on the back sides of the hands, just kind of manipulated my hands in different positions to help sweep it and get into a good crush position and help bring it down for the crush. So that's pretty much iron line pad bending 101. Here's another pointer I want to give you too for storing your wraps. I don't like to keep my wraps stored like wrapped up around the bar. Like that's okay for like leathers and stuff if you want to like come back and hit it as like an ISO bar on a tough bar you're having a hard time crushing. When I'm done with the bend, I'll typically stretch them back out flat. I'll leave them tri-folded and pretty much store them like that. Like I'll stack them all up flat and then fold them in the center. And that's a good way to keep your wraps if you want them to keep that nice flat crease, and you don't have to fuck with wadded up pads that kind of suck to roll. And then throw those clamps on, and that's the bending kit. That's how I stow my wraps, and I don't ever have to do anything after I crease them initially, besides this when I get done. Flatten them back out, store them right, so you're not dealing with a balled up wad of shitty pad to try to wrap with next time. If you got any questions, if I left anything out, comment. And I'll make another vid if I have to answer. I'm not real good with words and shit, so I can show you in the video, but I can't really put that shit out. But anyways, I'll post this. If this helps, give it a thumbs up. Maybe pin it in the bending forum. I hope you guys start smoking some big ass steel and single iron on pads. Word.